Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5-ish. I'm Dan Rubin. Got a great show planned for you today. We're going to be joined by Bill Kurelic on the heels of Torrance Gibson becoming the 19th member of the class of 2015 for Ohio State. Bill will give you his picks to click and let you know which freshman he expects to get on the field next season in Columbus as true freshmen. But we'll start off talking about the game that's coming up, the biggest game of the year, November 8th. Showdown in East Lansing for Big Ten supremacy, essentially the Big Ten title game before the Big Ten title game. We'll go over what we think is the key to an Ohio State victory. There's one unit and one coach we're counting on to get things turned around. There are theories aplenty as we head into Saturday's matchup in East Lansing, Ohio State, number 16 at number 8, Michigan State, for all the Big Ten marbles, to keep the dream alive of a trip to the playoffs, and really the heavyweight crown of the Big Ten and who's the big dog on the block these days. There hasn't been a time in recent memory where there was a team ready to knock Ohio State off its perch. Michigan State, you have to give them credit. They've built themselves to the point where they can call themselves the top dog if they emerge from this game victorious. A temporary title, sure, but top dog nonetheless. To me, it comes down to one unit and one coach. It's the offensive line. When they've been able to physically handle the other team, Ohio State has won and won pretty easily. When they've struggled to block the bare front at Virginia Tech, or when they struggled with the Penn State defensive line, there were problems. Anyone who listened to Tom Herman talk yesterday, though, knows this. Michigan State does not provide a complicated attack. They pretty much do what they do and ask you, can you out-execute us? Can you out-physical us? Ohio State is going to get punched in the face up front. How will they react? To me, that comes down to two things. One, can the offensive line handle it? And I think they can. And two, will Tom Herman put them in a position to be successful? This is cut it loose time. It's time to go after Michigan State. It's time to show who has the most talent on the field. There's no question that Ohio State will put on more offensive skilled talent than Michigan State. They've got to prove it. It's time to stop messing around in big games. Herman has been accused of clamming up in these games and getting too conservative and overthinking things in his Mensa-like fashion. It's time for the Buckeyes to cut it loose and get after it. If the offensive line can hold up, I think Ohio State has the players to get it done against Michigan State's defense. Their defensive line, especially in the middle, is not what it once was, and especially not what it was last year. They've got young, less experienced guys up front. The edge of Shalik Calhoun and Marcus Rush has not been what it was last year. It comes down to the offensive line. Can they stand in the ring and trade punches with an aggressive Michigan State defensive line and front seven for the whole afternoon? And will Tom Herman call enough plays to put his players in position to win the biggest regular season game in recent memory?
The Buckeyes now have 19 commitments for a 2015 recruiting class that I expect to number at least 22 come National Signing Day. But who do I expect to play as a true freshman among the 19 verbal commitments for the Buckeyes? I get often asked that question, and the first thing I talk about is that you have to balance talent versus the need at a prospect's position. Certainly, Torrance Gibson is a tremendously talented athlete, but he's not going to beat out J.T. Barrett next year when Gibson arrives at Ohio State. And then, of course, you have Braxton Miller as a possibility to come back as well. So simply, Torrance Gibson is not going to be the Buckeyes quarterback as a true freshman, although you can't rule out the Ohio State staff possibly putting in some special packages to perhaps get Torrance Gibson on the field. But most likely, I see him redshirting and giving him some time to develop as a quarterback. So, my top two picks for playing time as true freshmen for Ohio State are linebacker Justin Hilliard and linebacker Jerome Baker. Hilliard is, of course, a five-star prospect, just a tremendous talent, without question one of the top linebackers in the country, and I see him seeing the field as a true freshman for Ohio State. And in the case of Jerome Baker, not only is he a great linebacker prospect, but he's a great running back prospect and just plain a great athlete, and I think he could fit in at a number of spots, although certainly he is going to Ohio State first as a linebacker. I like the chances of perhaps one of the defensive linemen, or perhaps both of them, Jason Cornell or Draymond Jones, getting playing time as true freshmen for Ohio State. In the case of Cornell, he has the flexibility of perhaps playing either defensive end or defensive tackle for the Buckeyes. And in the case of Draymond Jones, I think he's played against some great competition at Cleveland St. Ignatius, and he's had an outstanding senior season, and he possibly could be ready to contribute some as a true freshman for Ohio State. And then moving to the secondary, Denzel Ward has had a fabulous senior season, and I think he has a chance to add some depth to the Buckeyes secondary. And Jamel Dean from down in Florida is a guy that maybe doesn't get as much publicity as some others, but he is outstanding as well. I wouldn't be shocked if he saw the field as a true freshman for Ohio State as well. And then the last one is Rashad Berry, the outstanding athlete from Lorraine High School. Like Jerome Baker, Berry is an outstanding athlete that could play on either side of the ball, either tight end or defensive end for Ohio State. Certainly Ohio State has some tight end needs, and certainly I think Rashad Berry is a guy that Ohio State could perhaps get on the field as a true freshman for the Buckeyes. So there you have it, my picks to click next year as true freshmen for Ohio State.